Hello, my name is Sylvan Willemsen, and this video serves as a tutorial for the SIVE Toolkit. So in this video, I'll go through the SIVE Toolkit manual, which you can find online. And with the SIVE Toolkit, you can build musical instruments and control them or interact with them in virtual reality. And this happens through two main steps. The first step is to configure the audio engine, essentially. So you can start building your instrument by adding, for example, a string module like this, and then add more modules. So this is just a quick example. Connect these guys, and in the end, get a musical instrument. Where, for example, we can load a guitar preset, for example, and we get the following. So that is part one. And this guitar preset we can then load into virtual reality and link that to a 3D model of a guitar, for example. So we just enlarge this and quickly show how that works. We can now take this guitar, we can grab it from a distance, and if we look to our side, we have several exciters here, which we can also grab, and now we can also interact with this guitar in virtual reality. And of course, here I'm using a simulator, but you'll be able to link up an Oculus headset to interact with these instruments in virtual reality. All right, but yeah, so let's go through the manual to see how we get from nothing to here, essentially. So I'll just quickly put this on the other screen. And the first thing you want to do is to download Juice and Unity if you don't have that already. So Juice is a framework for C++ and it's specifically designed to develop audio applications. So once you have Juice installed, you can go to the GitHub repository that you can find in the manual. And you can, you can download the ModularVST here as a zip file, but you can also clone the repository if you're familiar with Git. And I'll just put it in the folder that I created for this. And I say git clone this guy. All right, so if we now open this folder, we can see that indeed we have a ModularVST folder here. And the structure of this repository, the most important parts are, I suppose, the source code here, the presets to which we will add in a minute, our own preset so that we can make our own instrument in virtual reality, and the .juicer file. So you can open this .juicer file and you need to select your, on Windows, you need to select your correct version of Visual Studio. So if you only have until 2019, you really need to select that, not 2022, because then you will get issues. So after you've selected that, you can click on this Save and Open in IDE button, which will take you to your integrated development environment, from which you can build the plugin. So maybe a thing you want to check is whether you are building in debug or release. So you can do that on Mac or in Xcode by going to clicking on this standalone plugin and edit scheme. And you can see that it's here on debug. You would want to put that to release. That will turn on some optimization flags and it will essentially run the code faster. It will take a while to build the plugin, but once it's done, we can try and play around with it. All right, so I fast forwarded a bit, but it seems like it has built. Now it just needs to start. Yeah, there we go. So so this is the ModularVST, and I'll just quickly go through the functionality here so that you have an idea. The plugin is divided into three areas here. We have our instrument area where we can soon see some strings and stuff that we can interact with. We have the exciter area where we can choose different excitations to excite our instruments with. And then we have a control panel that will change depending on what the current state of the application is. But to start building an instrument, we can click on Reset and add a resonator module. And here we can select from various types of resonators, such as a string, a bar, which can be used as a bridge for example, guitar or violin. A membrane used for drums, thin plates, which I usually use for bodies, and like instrument bodies, like a soundboard of a guitar, and a stiff membrane, which is essentially a combination of these two. But let's start with a stiff string. If we click on Advanced, then it will toggle the Advanced Parameters panel. So here we have a lot of parameters. If you click on L, you can see that this is the length of the system. This is the tension of the string, so a lot of physical parameters. But if we toggle the Advanced window, we can now see that we can just select a different fundamental frequency and a radius of the string. So let's try that. We can add a string with a fundamental frequency of 110 Hertz. And now, because the plucking excitation here is selected, we can pluck the string like this. We can also hammer the string by clicking. And the further away you are from the string, the louder it will be. And we can also bow it. And with the scroll wheel, we can bow up and down. For the eventual virtual reality application, all of these things are mapped in, will be mapped in correct ways. But for here, for experimentation, this is how you do it. We can add another resonator module, which could be, for example, a thin plate. We can just add it and see how it sounds. A bit metallic, maybe. But we can add some connections to these. So we can connect the string to the plate. For example, using a rigid connection here, and maybe a nonlinear connection here. Oh, now this one changed to nonlinear, but I can change it back to rigid, like this. So if I'm done, I say done, and then I can excite it here. I think the graphics might be laggy a bit because I'm also recording the screen, but I think the idea is clear. Then we can, of course, also load presets. So I can select here from a list of presets which are loaded into the plugin as binaries. So what this means is that in the producer, if we go to the File Explorer, we can see here in the presets folder, we can see what presets are selected to be loaded in as a binary resource. So these will be part of the plugin. You can also see this in the manual. And this is where we will add our custom preset in a bit. But for now, these are the presets that will appear here in this drop-down menu. We can also load a preset from File, and you can see then that there will be, if I just navigate to my folder, yeah, so here there's a bunch of presets. I'll just make this into a list, it's easier. So I can also add some other presets that are contained within the repository folder, which are not included as binaries. So for example, I can try guitar without body and load that. And you can see that that's a guitar, but it doesn't have the body that we saw at the beginning of the video. And the guitar with a body looks like this. All right. So yeah, we can also change the output location. So for the guitar preset, we are only listening to the body here, but we can add maybe a left outputs at all of the strings here, and some right outputs on the other side. And I'm doing this using these instructions at the bottom. Then I can create a slightly different sound because we're now also listening to the strings themselves. All right, so if I just click on reset and I'm just adding a few strings. So I'm now building a preset that I would like to see in the end in our VR application. So maybe I can just start with fundamental frequency of 110. Then I can add another one, which is maybe 220. So an octave. And maybe I can just go up the the harmonic series here, and 440, 550, and 660. All right. So maybe just to keep it simple, this will be our instrument that we will use. Or if we are interested in this instrument, we can select Save Preset. And here we preferably want to locate where our presets folder is in the project that this is running in. So for me, that is SIVE Toolkit tutorial folder, ModularVST, and presets. And I can maybe say, call this harmonic guitar, possibly. I can save this. Now this is saved. So even if we load another preset, for example, the other guitar, like this, and we can load our previously saved preset. We can load that from the file, go to presets, and here we have harmonic guitar, and it's right there. All right, so how do we add this preset now to the plugin as a binary? If I just close this, and maybe also just close Xcode, I can now add that by first going to the File Explorer in the juicer, the producer, and selecting here this plus button, and I can say Add Existing Files. Then I can add here harmonic guitar.xml, which is in my ModularVST presets folder. That's where I saved it. Double click that or open, and now it appears here. If we then save and open in IDE, then it will now have been added to the plugin as a binary. So if we build this again, we can now see or check whether our plugin has indeed, or our preset has indeed been added as a binary to the application by clicking on Load Preset, and you can see that it is now appearing actually as first in the drop-down menu. So this means that it has been added, and we can load the preset. You can actually hear that it is our plugin. Great. Okay, so now that we have an extra preset added to our application, how can we now make sure that this also appears in Unity? And we need to do some configuration for that. And the way we do this is going to the file structure, and on Windows that is called the Solution Explorer, and on Xcode you can find it here in the left panel. We go into ModularVST, Source, and then appconfig.h. And this will be the only code in the audio engine part that you will have to edit or change. And it's not too much. It's so here you can see the build config macro, which determines how the app will be built. So we have a standalone application, which is what we've been working with until now. And then the other important one is building for Unity. This testing for Unity is kind of an in-between step to kind of for debugging purposes. But if we build for Unity, we want to change this to 2. Then we want to add our preset name to this preset files to including Unity variable. So after this, we can add our harmonic guitar. So I'm pretty sure it was harmonic guitar, and then you do _XML. That is the way that you that the application will find the harmonic guitar. So yeah, that's called harmonic guitar, and this is how a preset looks. It's an XML file with all of these variables of each of these resonator modules, each of these strings, and it will be saved and then also loaded in the plugin later on. So maybe to see what this will do, In Unity, we can select build config 1 as this intermediate step. This is not, you don't have to do this, but this is just for you to see what happens behind the scenes as such. All right, so now that it has built, we can see how the plugin looks in the background. The mouse still works, but the sliders here are to show how Unity interacts with the plugin. So we can try and maybe set here excite to 1 and the excitation type to pluck. And we can change here the mouse's X and Y position. So we can change the Y position and also the X position here through these sliders, because Unity is not able to change the mouse position directly, or is also not able to click as such. So that is how it interacts with the plugin. It can select different presets using this preset select slider here. So if you want to interact with a harmonic guitar, it needs to be in the last third, or depending on how many presets there are, of course. But now we are able to interact with our harmonic guitar as such. If we want to change the excitation type from pluck to hammer, for example, this is also divided into 3 parts. So we have pluck, hammer, and bow. The hammer needs to use these trigger sliders. And we have hammer 1 and hammer 2. So these X and Y positions here, we need to activate second exciter. In Unity, that is done automatically. But we can trigger hammer 2 and hammer 1. And these mouse X2 and Y2, they are only for the second hammer. The rest of the excitations are handled with these 2 sliders. Then we also have the bow, which we can then control using these 2. And I think here the velocity at 0.5 means that the velocity of the bow is actually 0. So now it's negative. Let me just quickly deactivate the second exciter. That all happens automatically in Unity. But we can change the velocity up and down. You can also see that from the yellow movement there. So yeah, it acts a little weird if you also do the mouse, the actual mouse, hover that over it. All right, and then yeah, these smooth things are something, and as well as the use velocity slider, they are more of internal for experimentation. So you don't necessarily want to touch those. But yeah, this is how the sliders interact with the plugin. So once we build for Unity, we will only get these sliders and not these like the graphical user interface as such. So let's continue and build for Unity. Then we set the build configuration to 2. And what we then also need to do is change the build target. So instead of the standalone plugin, we want to select Unity plugin here. On Windows in the Solution Explorer, you'll have to right-click on the ModularVST underscore Unity plugin or something like that. It's in the manual to build for Unity. Or right-click there and then click Build. And here we selected the build target up here, and then we click Run. All right, so that succeeded. We don't see anything happen, and that is because it just built to our builds release folder. So if we go to builds, select your correct operating system or IDE, go to build release. It's very important that this is built and release. So I think actually I might have forgotten that, because we're looking for this .bundle file. So let's edit scheme, go to release, close it, and run it again. We can go to builds, and then here in release, we can actually see this .bundle file, and this is our plugin that we want to in the end include in our Unity project. It is important that whenever you update the plugin, you remove this bundle file again, because sometimes it happens that it doesn't overwrite it. You can see that with the date modified, that sometimes it doesn't have the current time or date because it doesn't overwrite it. So every time remove it and then build it again from your IDE to be sure. All right, so in the next part, I'll go into the VR part of the SIVE Toolkit. And the first thing you want to do is download the SIVE Toolkit from this repository. As the git clone, like it has some large files in the repository, so as the git clone sometimes gives an error, I will download this as a zip and put it in the folder where I also put the ModularVST. It doesn't matter if it is or isn't, but that is what I will do. And then, yeah, so the structure of this repository is as follows. We first have our just ready to go Unity project that we will open in a minute from Unity Hub. And then this Unity project as a Unity package, which you can import into a blank project or into your own already existing Unity project. So I'll open the SIVE Toolkit or expand the zip folder. And once that is done, we can see here that we have the Unity package and the SIVE Toolkit Unity project. So let's try to import that using Unity Hub. All right, so open, and we navigate to where this project is. So here, make sure that you're in the folder so that the assets folder and packages and stuff is in the folder that you're opening. All right, so it might be that there are some things that cannot be opened because the developer cannot be verified. In that case, you go to security, security and privacy in the system preferences, on Mac at least. And here we click cancel, say allow anyway here, cancel, allow anyway, etc. We can also open once it's trying to re-import, and then it should all be good. You might have to restart Unity after that, because it might not have gone fully smooth. But once you close the Unity editor and then reopen the project again, it should load fine. Because when you work with the Unity plugins, it needs to be loaded from the start of the editor. So now the warnings are gone and the plugins have been loaded correctly. So the first thing that we see is this example scene where we have one instrument. We can just try and quickly play that. So we have one instrument, the guitar, and because we are working with the VRTK, which is a virtual reality toolkit, and we've set all that up so that you don't have to do it, but we have the simulator which we can use to walk around the scene, use the mouse to look around. It's in the manual, all the controls, but we can grab the guitar using the mouse button, then look here. I'll just quickly try and pick up the pick here, and then we can strum the guitar. The sound might be a bit laggy because I'm also trying to record, but at least we hear the guitar plugin work. Maybe we can quickly go through the hierarchy here to show what is what. So we have these first, I guess, 6 components here, which are related to VRTK or Oculus XR. So this makes sure that the VR things are working. You don't have to look at that. The rest of the stuff that is interesting for you and for development will be in the structure. So let's go through that. We have the big circle, which is what what we use so that instruments and things don't fall through the ground. And then we have 2 important parts, which is the exciters area, which is this this table with the 3 exciters. So we have the bow, the pick, and 2 hammers. And the instrument displays, which now only contains 1 instrument, so the guitar here. So if we go into exciters area, we can see we have 3 exciters. We have a table and a sign. And in these exciters, we have the bow, the pick, and 2 hammers. And what's important, so for example, if we go into the pick, we can see that this is an interactable object. That is also a VRTK thing. So an interactable we can pick up, grab, and actually interact with. So both instruments and exciters here, they are interactable. So within the pick, we have the pick model. So this is what you start with, also with instruments once you want to import a new model, but we'll get into that. And then it has an exciter area. And if we turn on the gizmos here, we can see that the exciter area is this small collider, which is what will interact with an instrument's play area, which is what we'll get to in a minute. So each of these exciters, the bow, the pick, and the 2 hammers, they all have an exciter area with which it can interact with the instrument. Then if we go to the guitar, it has an interactable and a platform and a guitar stand here. And here the platform contains the sign here in the front. And here the most important thing is the guitar itself, which is a model downloaded from the asset store. It's a free model, and it has a play area. And if we turn on the gizmos again, you can see that only this area with the strings, that is the one that is interactable. So that is what we will use for mapping the exciter input to the plugin, essentially. Yeah, so that is in a nutshell the structure and what is important there. Then finally, this set camera rig is a custom function that we made where you can switch between using this simulator that you just saw and an Oculus device. So if you have an Oculus device and you're developing with that, you can switch between the simulator and the Oculus using this drop-down menu. Okay, so that is very briefly the structure of the virtual reality project. So we have another scene, which is called multiple instruments. And here we have a guitar and a harp. And now our instrument displays contain an extra instrument, the harp here, which has the same structure as we saw before. But now this harp has a play area that is slightly skewed because our harp has a slightly skewed, is slightly angled here. But you can still see that it's quite important to align your play area with the instrument at hand. And in the end, this play area, I can quickly show that maybe, has this script on it where you will eventually do the mapping of what of this box goes into the sliders of the plugin. And you will do that here. That is also in the manual exactly where that is. But here's where the mapping happens. So at line 140, which is here, you will have a mapping that maps the Y position and the X position in the play area to the sliders X and Y, the mouse X and Y, and also for the harp. So here's where you will add the mappings for your own instruments. All right, so let's see how we then import the Unity package in a blank project. So let's close this guy. Okay, so let's make a new project, which we call maybe SIVE tutorial or something. SIVE tutorial. Put it anywhere you want. Make sure that you have this editor version. I should have said that before, but it's also in the manual that you need to use this editor version because that is what the toolkit is made in. It could be that new editor versions will also work, but we can't guarantee that. So yeah, select 3D, give it a name of your liking, and create the project. Then the first thing that you would want to do, let me quickly navigate to that. Yeah, so SIVE tutorial is to import the packages in a slightly smarter way. So let's go to the packages manifest.json file and get the tutorial or the manual. Yes. Then you want to copy paste these entries into this manifest file. This will allow Unity to import the right packages that it needs. So let's see. We have here our manifest.json. You can open that in any text editor. For me, it opens in Xcode, I can see. And then we want to copy paste this into the JSON file. There we go. And you want to copy that between this bracket and the dependencies. So we copy that here. And the other, or the dependencies that you will need, you will copy paste that after this guy, or whatever dependencies you currently have in your project. Then we save it. And if we then go back to the Unity editor, it will start resolving packages and importing packages. Then it will ask you some things. First of all, about the new input system package, click no. We will do this manually in a minute. All right. Then if it asks you about the Unity Input Manager, you want to add input definitions. And then now that we're in project settings, you want to go to player, go down, and go to active input handling, and select this to be both. And then when it asks you to restart, click restart. All right, and once it has restarted, you will now see that the packages have been added, because there's this extra folder, and here in these packages are all these Tilia packages, which is the VRTK things that you'll need. All right, so once all this is done, we can select the assets folder and import a package into this. We can say custom package, and then navigate to where we have the SIVE Toolkit. So in the thing that I just downloaded from Git, I can select the Unity package, and then you want to import all of the dependencies here. Okay, and when that is done, we now have a lot of things in our assets folder. And what we can do is we can open one of the example scenes, for example, single instrument here, and try and see if this works. We can try and pick up the guitar, pick up the pick, and we can hear indeed the guitar. Okay, maybe we can take a look at the audio mixer. If you don't see it, you can go to Window, Audio, and then Audio Mixer. Click on Master, and then Plugin. And once you have that, you can see here the all the sliders that we also saw in the audio plugin before. And once we interact with the guitar, we can see some of the slider value change due to the mappings that we made in the scripts in the Unity package. So if I just click on plugin again and pick up the pick, you can see that if I move the guitar side to side, the mouse X changes, and if I move it up and down, the mouse Y changes. If I, for example, pick up one of the hammers, yeah. So this is hammer 2, you can see that activate second exciter is turned on, and if I then pull the hammer towards me, you can see that the trigger is activated the moment that it touches the play area of the guitar. So this way the plugin or Unity is linked to the plugin. Great. So let's now try to add an instrument to the application. And the first thing we want to do is add our just made plugin, the ModularVST, with our third instrument, the harmonic guitar. We want to add that to the folder structure. So we want to close the Unity editor for now and navigate to our project. Let's see here. So it's located in Assets, Plugins, and here we have our bundle, or DLL for Windows. And as I'm on Mac, I'm going to remove the bundle and its meta file, because then we can overwrite it with our custom-made plugin. So these are going to go. And you need to remove the meta file as well, because these are generated by Unity or when you open the editor, and it needs to belong to the newest version of the file, and otherwise it doesn't get overwritten properly. So if I try and find the plugin with the 3 instruments, ModularVST, builds, Mac, and then here this bundle file. So I'm just going to drag it into the plugins folder of the SIVE tutorial project. And now I'm going to open Unity again, or the hub, and open the tutorial from here. All right, so the first thing that you might notice is an error here, and this is a custom-made error, and it says the preset list has changed. Make sure you should reselect the right preset in the select preset component of each instrument model. So this is actually a good thing, because this means that the number of presets, or the list of presets that we actually changed in the app config file, gets recognized by Unity, that it's different than the plugin that it used to have. So that's good. Let's go to here to multiple instruments and work from there. So in this one we have a guitar and a harp, and we're going to add our other guitar. So I'm going to use the same model there. And then we can link those to the correct what this error is trying to indicate. So I can quickly go to maybe into the harp and go here it says, in the hierarchy, it's structure, instrument displays, instrument, the interactable mesh container, and then the model. So we're mesh container, then the model here. And here, this is what the error refers to. So here, now you can see that harmonic guitar actually got loaded into this drop-down menu, and you'll have to select the correct one from here once we made the model. So for this one, it's just going to be harp, but maybe what we could try and do is change it for the guitar to harmonic guitar, and see if it sounds different or not. And change it to harmonic guitar. And the only thing that we then have to change still is its mapping. So if we go into play area interaction, then here around line 140, that is where the mapping is coded. So here we're going to add a case. And the case is going to be called harmonic guitar. And I have a break here. And as you can see here in the guitar, we scale the Y position by 0.75. And the reason that we do this is that if we remember how the plugin looked, we have 6 strings, we have 1 bridge and 1 body, and they all have an equal height. Every resonator component has an equal height in the application, but the only things we want to interact with are the strings. So 6/8 of the plugin, the Y component, are strings. With the harmonic guitar, though, all of it is strings. So we don't have to do any scaling. We might have to do some mapping in the end, but actually we can just not do anything here and see if that works. So we can save this. All right, and then try and see if our guitar now sounds like a harmonic guitar. Okay, so we grab the guitar with this hand and grab the pick. And it indeed sounds like the plugin that we created. So that's great, and at least we know that that works. But let's have an extra guitar that is in this tuning instead of the guitar that we have there. So the first step to do that is to go inside structure instrument displays, and we need to create a new empty game object. Before I forget, I'll just set this back to be guitar here. So in here, I'm gonna create empty, and I'm gonna call it harmonic guitar. All right. So then I would like to add a platform to this, so that we have an instrument that can stand on that. So I go to prefabs, and here there's a platform, and I can click and drag that into harmonic guitar. Cool. Now I'm gonna click on harmonic guitar, and I'm gonna locate this to where I want it. So I want it like next to the harp, maybe somewhere there. Maybe I can make it a bit more specific. 3.5. So now we have a platform here. I also want to rotate this so that the sign here faces me. I'm gonna say Y rotation 180, and I'm gonna change the sign here in the platform, the text on the inspector side, and can say harmonic, something like that, just so that it doesn't go out of the bounds. Great. Then let's see. I would like a guitar stand, so we also have that here. I'm gonna put that in harmonic guitar, and I would like to have another electric guitar, so that you can find in electric guitars, electric guitar, prefab, and then this guy. And I also want that to be here. I want to put it so that it faces faces us. All right. Sure, let's have it be something like this. It's fine for now. Cool. So now we have a harmonic guitar here. And what we want to do with this is that we want to make the mesh collider convex. This is needed to make it properly and interactable in a minute. Yeah, so now it's centered on the guitar stand, which is great. And we want to have this be a model. This will be used by scripts in the backend. So if this is not a model, it's not going to work. Great. So then we also want to add a select preset component, which is what is going to make it select the harmonic guitar in the end. We want to have the mixer here, and this instrument type drop-down menu is only going to change once we play. And we can just play and then cancel again. And now it should have updated, but it hasn't. So maybe after Unity is restarted, it will properly update. Okay, let's see. Then we want to give it a child, which is called play area. So I'm gonna create empty, call it play area. And I want to add to this play area a box collider. And this is what is going to be interacted with the exciters. So we want to change here the box is trigger so that it doesn't act as a collision but more as a trigger, and change the scale so that it encompasses our fretboard essentially. Yeah, so this takes a bit always, but anyway, something like this. It will, it's fine. As some orientations of instruments are maybe rotated, you want to have the z-axis here to be the smallest, so that x and y are the kind of the square of your play area, because that is going to be mapped to the sliders in the end. Great. Okay, so now we can make this electric guitar interactable. So the way we do that is to go to Window, Tilia, Interactions, Interactable Creator, and then here click on Convert to Interactable. And as we can see here now, it created this, this object here, an interactable, and within it is the electric guitar in the play area that we just found. So it just adds the VRTK hierarchy essentially. And this one we need to give the tag instrument. So in this interactable, we need to change some things. In this interactor or interactable facade. So what events on grab, and when you ungrab it, what happens? So on first grabbed, we need to add an event. In here, we need to put the model, so the electric guitar ST, into here, and then its function should be select preset, and then instrument grabbed. So then when the instrument is grabbed, it will call this function select preset within the, or the instrument grab within the select preset. Then at last ungrabbed, we need to add an event. And here we want to drag the instrument displays to. And from instrument displays, we want to select reset instrument pause, and then this despawn and spawn instrument. So when we release this instrument, it's gonna spawn back to its stage, which is nice. So you can always find it. And then what we need to drag in here is a game object, which is the parent of the interactable, so the harmonic guitar. So drag that into here. Okay, so finally we need to change the grab type here to toggle, so that if we work with the simulator, we don't have to click and hold our mouse button. This will automatically change once we change this set camera rig thing to Oculus. Then it will do hold and release. Then you can actually grab the guitar, and once you ungrab the grab action, it will release the guitar. But for now we put it on toggle. Then we have our primary action should be follow, and the grab offset should be orientation handle. And we show the orientation container here. This is where it's going to be grabbed. So this is probably something that we want to put more high at the neck, for example. All right. So going back here to electric guitar. Yes, then the secondary action is swap. So if we grab it while we grab it with the right controller while we have it in our left hand, it will swap controllers. It will go to the other one. Yes, and then let's see, in electric guitar, let's try and play it and see if this instrument type updates. Yes, it did. Great. So now we can select our harmonic guitar here. So actually, as it turns out, I forgot to add to the guitar play area. I forgot to add a play area interaction component and set this up with the mixer, and also tag this to be a play area. So right now, if I press play, it should make a sound. Let me quickly check. Let me get this out of the way a bit. There we go. There we go. You can also try with the bow maybe. And then there we go, a little bit. I think there's something with the mapping that here needs to happen, but yeah, so that's about it. I hope this made sense, and always refer to the manual for further details. Thank you.